Hello, everyone. Morning. So my name is Nicole, and I'm here today to talk about internationalization and localization, and why these concepts are important. Does anyone here knows what this first word, Eita, means? Does anyone know? Oh, cool. Don't worry, it's not a bad language. It's a Portuguese word. I know that's the default thing to do whenever you learn a new language is to learn the curse words first, right? But I promise that's not the case. It's just a Portuguese expression that you say whenever something unexpected happens. And I'm going to tell you why this word is in my title by the end of the presentation, why Eita is related to internationalization and localization. And why do I have a Portuguese word in the title of my presentation? Well, because I'm from Brazil. And I am a full stack developer at Labcoats, working with Python and Django in the backend, and with some JavaScript in the front end, HTML and CSS. I am a huge fan of the Python community. I am part of the Python users group at my city and also the pilots group. In 2017, I organized a Django Girls workshop in my city. And this year, I had the pleasure of organizing our regional PyCon at the northeast part of Brazil. And I put here on a map, and I just like Brazil is pretty huge, so I flagged there where my city is, so you guys know. It's really sunny and it has great beaches. So if you guys are looking for an option for a vacation, feel free to ask me how to get to Recife. I can give you directions. And as I said, I work at Labcoats. Labcoats is a software studio based in Brazil, and we specialized in creating custom web products fitted for specific needs. We believe that software should be built by fulfilling clients and user expectations. Our software is always aimed at solving problems and optimizing processes. So these are some of the people that I work with, very pretty. I miss them so much already. It's an incredible honor for us to be here at PyGathon, giving talks and sponsoring also. We will have another talk here today. That's Renato going to be talking about designing APIs. So stay tuned for that if this subject is interesting for you. So this is going to be the agenda of this presentation. We are going to start discussing about the difference between internationalization and localization. What's the definition between those two? We'll go over how to do this and why does it matter. Like, I'm going to give some examples. I'm going to show you how to do that in Python. I was going to talk about Django too, but I don't think that we will have time. But if you want to know more about this, you can look me up. And we can discuss more about how to do that with Django, because I work mainly with Django in the backend. And how we adapted our development process to include this whole process of internationalization and localization into our flow. So yeah, let's start by addressing the difference between internationalization and localization. Funny story, I didn't know what this I18N means, or the L10N meant. They are numeronyms, and basically they mean that there are 18 letters between the letter I and N in internationalization. So, I mean, I just discovered this when I was doing the research for this talk, because I was like, what does this code mean? But it means that. So we have other numeronyms like this in development too. Localization is the process of adapting your product, your software, or even a document to be more user-friendly to customers from different countries or cultures. On the other hand, internationalization is the process of enabling localization on your product. It's like implementing a software in a way that it will know how and when to show different content depending on the customer's locale. So The Django documentation summarizes this pretty well. It says that localization is done by translators, and internationalization is done by developers. So basically, we develop applications that can be translated by some translators. However, this concept is helpful in a way, but it may give the wrong impression that this is just about translations. This process entails actually several adaptations needed in your application in order to make users from different countries to feel more comfortable using your product. So I will go over some examples besides translations. For example, we have here a map that shows the usage of different date formats around the world. The countries colored in cyan, green, blue, and gray, they all accept the format day / month / year. The countries colored in yellow, green, and gray, they accept year, month, day. And as you can see, very few countries accept the format month, day, year. So if you have your product, let's say you want to show the expected delivery date for someone in, let's say, Mexico. So if your product is based on the US, how are you going to show the date to your customer in Mexico? It's important to show them the correct date. Otherwise, you're going to be flipping month and day, and it's going to be a whole mess. Another example is number format. We have another map here that shows the different ways of format numbers. Some countries use dot as thousand separators and the comma as the decimal separators. There are other countries that use the other way around. So they use comma as thousand separators and dot as decimal separators. This can be pretty important when you are showing your user a price of a product, for instance. You don't want to flip the decimal separator with the thousand separator. It can be really bad for the user. So how are you going to show the price for your user, let's say, in Brazil? Talking about prices, another example is currency conversion. So if I'm browsing through Amazon, I don't want to see the price in US dollars because I'm going to pay in Brazilian real. So it doesn't make sense to me to see all the prices in dollars. So it's an important feature on Amazon. Bidirectional text and Unicode characters is yet another very interesting issue that we can have in your application. In this example, we can see the Wikipedia pages adapting to the selected language. Here we have the version in English, and we can see that the side navigation bar is on the left, as we are used to see. However, if you change the same page for Arabic, it's going to change not only the translations, not only the words, but it's also going to change the layout of the page. And why is that? Because Arabic is written from right to left, so it's easier for them. It's the usual thing for them is to see the navigation bar on the right. And there are several other examples that we need to take into consideration. There are still some countries that still use imperial units, although we have a pretty nice metric system. But yeah, you know, if you're dealing with metrics on your product, so you may need to take care of that. You may need to convert some units around. You also need to pay attention for some legal requirements. They may differ from country to country. For instance, in Brazil, betting websites for sports or anything is actually forbidden. So if that's your business, you may have to take a look again if you want to get into Brazil. Also, sorting and listing presentations, address and personal name. So should the family name go first or the given name? Time zone, calendar, special holidays. Time zone is a whole lot of place. Like you need to If that's important for your product, you need to take care of that. And I know that we as developers, we are used to write code, send messages, send emails, write documentation, everything in English. And it's awesome. Like, it's awesome to have different people from different cultures and different countries communicating in the same language to make the things work. However, we may not realize that actually there are only 360 million native English speakers. And I'm not saying that there aren't more. I mean, English is like the second language most spoken in the world. I don't know. But like, it's just about user experience. If everyone in German knows English, but wouldn't they be more comfortable reading everything that you did using your product in German? You know, and if you look at the top 10 countries with the most internet users, you will see that only one country is a native speaking English. So if you want to grab a share of this market and make a difference on the market, you may want to pay attention to your user experience. And maybe internationalizing your app is the way to go. Okay, so I hope that by now I have made up my point of convincing you that internationalization and localization is important. So now you must be wondering, how can I do that with Python? Okay, so I will go over a couple of tools that can help us with this task. I will start with the ignoregettext library from the translation project. So this package it offers a runtime library for retrieving translated messages, a set of conventions about how programs should be written to support message catalog, a library supporting parsing and creation of files containing those translated messages. So I'm going to give you an example how it would work. This is just a simple hello world kind of application. It's called Eita app, where we are using the getText to create a translation object when we do getText.translation. Then I am specifying the domain of my application, so I'm just calling the same name, Eita app. I'm also specifying the Locator directory for Locator, and I'm also specifying the languages that I want to translate this to. Once I have my translation object, I can get my getText function, and it's sort of a convention to have this getText function assigned to an underscore. Because since once you have that, you're going to be flagging all the strings in your code. All the strings that you want to translate, you're going to flag passing that to that function. So to make the code a little bit easier to read, you just assign to an underscore. It's going to make everything better. So, so then I am flagging the hello world string to be translated, and then I'm just going to print it out to see the results. Okay, so I did my code, and it works fine. After flagging all the translatable strings in the code, then we can collect them. And we collect them by using the xgetText command line tool. This tool, it generates a PO file containing all the strings that we have flagged. The PO file looks like this, which stands for Portable Object File. It contains a list of entries, and this is a basic structure for it. You can add some comments for translators, some references, or some flags for the string. Then we have the entry ID, which is the untranslatable string that you flagged in the code, and the entry string, which represents the translated string. So when we run this command for my app that I showed before, this is the PO file that it generates. On the top of the file, we have some metadata about the file, about the project, and the translation process that can be very helpful if you have a big project. And down here, we have a reference to where in my code, which line in my code I flagged that string came from. And then the translated string is empty because I didn't provide any translations yet. So if I run my command with this PO file, it's going to get the ID, because if the translated string is not provided, by default, we get the ID back. So now that I have my PO file, I can start to translate my app to any language that I want. So to do this, I copied this PO file, the original one, and then started to translate my app. So I just put the translation there for Olá Mundo. That's the translation to Real World in Portuguese. One important thing to notice is that the GNU gettext library, it looks for the PO file in a specific directory structure. So once you define your locale path, you need to create a folder for each language that you want to give support to in your app. Then create a LC messages folder in it, and then you put your PO file inside that. But actually, before you use it, you need to actually compile your PO file. So what your application reads is the MO file. And to compile this, you just need to run the command message format giving for each one of your PO files. So you just need to go there. For each one of your PO files that you have translated, you just run the MO files. This process is done after your translation is complete on the PO file. So now, if I'm able to change here my languages to Portuguese, because that's the language that I'm supporting, and this application should print Olá Mundo in the results. I'm not sure if I have time, but let me try this. Just to show you how it's done. So yeah, I have my code here. That's in the other screen. So I have my code here, and then the same code, and then I created my locale directory. I created one folder for each language, and then I translated my PO file to Olá Mundo. I've compiled each PO file with the correct command, and now I can run my Eita app passing the language to Portuguese over there. So if I go just here and run, it shows Olá Mundo. So if you go back to here and put ENEOS, which is the other language that I support, it goes to print Real World. So you can do this for any language that you want to give support to. Let me try to go back to my presentation here. OK. So now we know how to translate, which is already a big deal. But there are other tiny format things that we can do to help internationalize our app. So the Python locale module, it is a very helpful module. It allows access to the POSIX locale database and functionality. And it's especially useful for handling date, number, and currency format. So I'm going to show you another example. Here I have just to play around, nothing fancy, just a code that's going to format a date and a price with a specific currency symbol. So here I am setting my locale to English, US. I'm setting my locale to the US. Then I'm getting my locale conventions. So I can get after I set that, I can get my locale.locale conventions. And that locale convention is actually going to give me the currency symbol that's used in that locale. From the date time, we can just internationalize we just print in the correct format for the locale if we use the directive %x. And the price, I can use the locale.format and print a specific price. And I want to make sure that's going to give me the 1,000 separators. So I'm passing the grouping equals true. And also, it's going to print the decimal part of my number, too. So if we go back to the code, let me see if, yeah, this one. So I have another file here, and this one is for locale Portuguese. Let's start with English this time. So here, just one note. The locale.format is going to be deprecated soon. So instead of that use format underscore string, I'm going to change my presentation to make sure that everybody later, if you want to find out, is going to be on the with the correct function. So now, if I go back here and then do Python Eita app format, it's going to print the date. I passed the current date, right? Yeah, so it's going to be October 4th of 2019. And as you can see, the currency symbol is the $, and the 1,000 separators is commas, and the decimal separators is the dot. So if I go back there, yeah, this one. And then I change to Brazil, you can see that now it's going to print the day first. So it's the same date, October 4th of 2019. The currency symbol now, it shows R plus the $, which is the Brazilian real currency symbol. And also the 1,000 separators is now a dot, and the decimal separator is a comma. So that's how you can do it with, wait. That's not what I want. Where is my presentation? Not what I wanted. Maybe I close it up. Oh, there you go. OK. And here I'm just showing the outputs. If we change just the locale, the code remains the same. You change your output to the correct locale of your user. OK, so we did that with Python. We were, in our project, we were using actually a Python framework for microservices called Zato. I don't know if anyone here have ever heard of it. But they actually don't give really nice support for internationalization. So that's why I need to research how to do that with Python, with pure Python, in order to accomplish that in our platform. But I was also able to do that with Django. So if you have interest in that, we can talk later, and I can show you how to do that with Django. Django makes our life way easier. Like, it's going to just run some commands from the manage.py. It's going to be really fine. But yeah, when we did our project for internationalizing our app, we noticed that not only we had to learn how to do that in our Python program and Django application, we also had to change our development flow, which was something that I don't know if anyone knows about. We actually had to include the translation process, because the translation wasn't done by us. It was done by translators, which was a whole other team on the flow. So whenever we did a stage deploy that's going to be validated and tested by others, we also had to send any new or updated terms that should be translated to the translation team. So this is something, an extra step that we had to do during the stage deploy. We also had to include tests for different locales in our integration tests. And also when the QA team was doing tests, they had to also consider the different locales. They needed to see if any words were not translated or if the format of the number was correct for different countries. And we defined that the production deploy is only approved when all the translation is done. So instead of just depending on our local team of developers, we also had to wait for the translation team. So this is something that you need to take into consideration when scheduling your production deploy. We just didn't depend on us anymore. We had to wait for the translation, which they worked really fast, so it's pretty cool. But even so, it's something that's not, okay, let's do a prod deploy right now. No, you have to make sure that the translation is done and that that team of translators is give the green flag to go with, to proceed with the deploy. So yeah, that's basically the message that I want to pass to you guys. And I hope that you notice that internationalization is actually a fundamental step in design and development process. Don't do as we did, because we had a product up and running, several months of users going around with it. And then we got the news that we want to expand our product to Canada. And we should give now support to French. We were happy the way we were. And then we had this huge amount of work now to do. And that was when I said, Eita, this was pretty unexpected. So the lesson here is please don't do that. If you are at the beginning of your project, please consider to design your app thinking about all the cultures and other languages. If you are already in the middle of the road, or maybe after that, and doesn't have yet the requirement to be international, to go to other countries and cultures, try to start it now. And my recommendation would be to start with the Boy Scouts rule. Whenever you start to setting up here and there, and whenever you have to fix a bug or implement a new feature here and there, make sure to flag all the strings. Make sure to take notes of all the numbers that you are showing to your user, any dates, any issues with time zones. Make sure to take note of these. Maybe create a specific backlog for this, or start actually implementing. And try to, whenever you leave the place, whenever you touch the code and then leave that and create a pull request or whatever, make sure that everything could be internationalized really fine. That would be my recommendation. Don't do as we did. We took months to finish all the, to find all the strings that we were showing to the user. So that's not a good thing to do. So yeah, that's it. Thanks, everybody. I will take any questions. There's one question. I think we have time for questions. So that you.
Any advice on time zone dealing with daylight saving?
Yeah, it was on my longer version of this presentation. We actually didn't have to work with time zones because it was not crucial for our system. Django may give some help on how to do that. But one interesting thing about defining your user's time zone, at least with Django, the recommendation would be to let your user choose the time zone that they want to be into. Another way to do it is also to use any JavaScript library. We have Moment.js. I think they have a pretty good time zone library that can define your user's time zone based on the browser. The language we can get, at least on web applications, we can get from the accept language header that's passed by default for any browser that you use. So yeah, time zone is a little bit tricky. If you want, we can talk later. Yeah, I think we are done. Thank you, guys.